Welcome to the first episode of Insight On. We're in Barcelona at Mobile World Congress and I'm Ralph Cochrane. Welcome to day one of Mobile World Congress, the world's biggest mobile conference. There are expected to be 92,000 people here, and it's not just for tablets and smartphones. There's also the Internet of Things, healthcare, payments, mobile advertising, education. All sorts of different industries are here, all sharing what they do about mobile. I'm delighted to have with me two subject matter experts. Ben Phillips from Mediacom, welcome Ben.
Hi.
And Julie Hamshere from GroupM. So, Julie, this is your first time at the conference. What do you think so far?
Well, it's immense. I have to say, we walked in there last night and you just didn't get the feel of it until you actually got into the actual event this morning. And there's just room after room after room, and you kind of feel like you've just got as far as you can go. And yet there's another room. It's amazing.
And Ben, this is not the first year for you,
No,
is it?
this is year 8 for me in Barcelona for the Mobile World Congress, and it's changed dramatically. I'm quite liking the Overspill Hall 8.1 for housing more ad tech around mobile this year, so that's encouraging as well.
And just give us a sense of the change. I mean, the mobile industry is still in its infancy. I mean, only things like, well, the mobile phone only started in 1987.
Yes.
3G wasn't that long ago, which allows a lot of these applications. So just in the 8 years you've been coming, how has this event changed?
Yeah, I think what's actually really guided this event now is very much the consumer. So first of all, it started out life as a load of good tech guys coming talking about the newest processors that they were bringing into handsets. You know, it was Nokia dominated, Motorola, had a huge presence. So even if you're looking at the brands that were there, from day one, and some of them aren't here now. We've got the newer players like Huawei coming into the market and really shaking it up.
And what's caught your eye so far, Julie?
Other than the sheer size of it, I guess I was thinking coming to a mobile conference, it would very much just be centred on mobile phones. How naive was I? There's so much there in connected homes. We've got connected cars. We've got healthcare, payments, ad tech. There's just so much to sort of get your head round, virtual reality, and of course wearables. And wearables is an area that I went out this morning and sort of had a little look around to see what was there. So there's some really exciting stuff going on there at the moment. So the news from HTC is that they're moving into the wearable space. Like many other smartwatch manufacturers, they've moved in with something called the HTC Grip. They've also launched a brand new phone, the One M9, and they're moving into virtual reality headsets. More on that later.
There's been lots of big product announcements already, and we're only on day one. Yesterday, both Samsung and HTC announced a new phone and new wearables. So I'm kind of interested from you two in the news stories that you've picked up on. Julie, was there anything that's particularly caught your eye?
Yeah, there was actually. When I went and looked around the wearables space, I was really excited to find out more about the Huawei new smartwatch. The reason being that most smartwatches that I've seen, and obviously I'm talking mostly about the Apple Watch, are really not, I don't think, aimed at me or my market. They're kind of a bit chunky, they're not particularly fashionable. I want a watch that looks like my watch, essentially, that's a really nice timepiece. And that's exactly what we're going to get with this new smartwatch by Huawei, which is beautiful. I don't know what most of the population are going to think about it. It may not suit some people, but I think we were talking about it earlier and we both feel it could actually do very well.
They've really gone down the design route of making a very attractive timepiece part of this new wearables world. So I think we've got some clear divisions. One's largely around having a band or some kind of measurable device. And I can see a lot of fashion brands starting to get into this. There's been a number of famous designers been brought in to kind of jazz up the technology world as it is. But I think, the Huawei watch at the moment is head and tails above the rest in terms of, would I wear that as a watch? Yeah, it's pretty good.
Yeah, I agree.
And what about you, Ben? Is there anything from the news that you've picked up?
Yeah, I mean the Edge handset that's come out. I was slightly dubious, thinking, okay, we've got another gimmicky kind of a product that's coming out to try and kind of dislodge Apple from the aesthetics of mobile. But this is really usable. It's very tactile in the sense that I can start to use different areas of a handset. You know, we haven't really seen that much change in the actual design of the UI. We've got better image quality, faster graphics chips behind it. But I think taking the way that we actually use that onto, so the edge is largely about controlling shortcuts and different buttons on the side of your handset.
The screen goes over the edge. You're talking about the new Samsung, and you're using that to do different things than what's happening in the middle of the screen.
That's right. So again, you know, based on Android platform, so we can start to use different types of icons, different shortcuts. You can personalize your hot links to different applications. It adds another dimension. When we brought out the 6, we started to talk about what's that going to mean for apps developers when we've got this another row of apps to link to. So I think again, it's you know, it's really kind of shaking the market up a little bit in terms of handset design, and it's no mean feat. A lot of people have tried and failed.
Not only does it flash different colours when different people call you, which is a really nice feature for me, but the battery power is allegedly the best on the market ever. It's kind of, you can charge this in, I think it's 10 minutes and you get 4 hours of battery. Wow. So I think that's pretty
that's
cool.
Right. And if you look at the giveaways on the floors and my bag, which I carry now, I think the amount of battery backup packs I have is now outweighing my my laptop. So yeah, anything we can do in terms of the functionality of the handset like that, that's quite impressive.
So the elephant in the room is always Apple, who don't exhibit here. I don't believe they're exhibiting again this year. Is the Samsung phone an iPhone killer, or is it for people who already buy Samsung?
Big one, and it's definitely something I would consider going into a store, you know, and looking at that as a comparison. I think that's really what's let the rest of the market down, is there's not anything you can put side by side.
Yeah, I think that it's kind of for that mid-market Apple person. You know, if you're a die-hard Apple fan and you've got the laptop and the iPad, you're not probably ever going to change. But there's a proportion of society that, you know, I think would give it a go, and I'm one of those. I'd be quite keen to take a look at it.
So big endorsements from both of you. And then on the wearables front, you know, you looked at several different manufacturers there. They've all got their own unique take on it, like Fitbit, who are trying to kind of keep their market share, I guess, with everybody else coming in. What leapt out at you as perhaps being a winner? I mean, I know you've talked about the Huawei phone. Was there anything else from perhaps the fitness area?
I mean, the Fitbit have now got, I think, 5 or 6 different wearable bands, from, you know, the most basic, which counts your steps and kind of calories, right up to the newest launch, which takes your heart rate. You know, it's sort of super intelligent, if you like. So if you're a very keen sports person, you know, that's the one you're going to go for. So I thought that was actually really interesting. Of course, HTC have also launched their wearable, which I think is compatible with Android and also iOS, so that's good for them.
Has anyone got to the point where we've got the waterproof ones yet? Because again, if we look at last year when wearables started to kind of get into the marketplace, one of the main things was that you couldn't go swimming with them. So a lot of them got ruined in the bath, or if you were a triathlete or swimming with them, none of them could actually take the waterproof. I wonder if anyone's actually specifically designed one for the swimmer yet. It's
a good question. I mean, from what I saw, a lot of the focus was on your blood pressure.
Yes.
So I had a fascinating conversation where they explained about resting heart rate, and it kind of brought home to me that I think most people don't understand. It's a little bit like when the sleep apps first came out, and you realise that you're not in a deep sleep the whole night, and that's normal, that's fine. But the first time you see the chart and you think, well, why does it have this wave to it? Why aren't I in a deep sleep all night? And then you need it explaining. Which brings me on to another question, because a lot of these wearables are producing data, and huge amounts of data, potentially. I think there's some privacy questions there. I think there's some advertising questions and opportunities as well. But there's also just explaining what on earth this data means. So is that a whole wave of kind of innovation that we've not really seen yet?
You know, I think if you look at, you know, we've already mentioned a number of different handset manufacturers that bring up wearables. So there's a big partnership still in play with actually bringing out a wearable product. But also, let's not forget, you know, that that your UI and the majority of your engagement with that device is still going to be through your mobile phone. So to your point, we've had a look in here earlier. I think there's a company called Peel.
Yeah.
So Peel are creating an application which will help you to control the Internet of Things in your house and these many wearable devices that you have. And that's going to be, for me, what's going to make it quite exciting is who can visualize or teach me or let me understand that data a lot better. So from an advertising point of view, we can use these different touch points for being able to deliver a very personalized solution which is relevant to you. We speak quite a lot in mobile about programmatic and native, creative design, etc. But the wealth of data that's coming through is going to really allow the brands and the advertiser to really cherry pick what content is right for you at that moment in time and how do I deliver that. So when we look at the kind of privacy data issues, I think that we as an agency have a big responsibility to work with our brands to help them make that form of communication as relevant as possible. And from my point of view, I think all of this can only really help us achieve that.
Yeah, and I think the personalisation is a really important thing. It's what everything's about at the moment, and I think allowing the customer and the consumer needs to know what that data is being used for, who's got their hands on it, how long it's being kept for, where's this going. And I think there's a certain proportion of us who probably don't really mind because we're kind of used to sharing and giving up that information because we know what we get back is relevant for us and it's good content. But there's a whole big other set of people out there that don't know much about it, and I think they're the ones that need to be persuaded before they kind of buy into this kind of technology.
Okay, well, thank you very much, Julie. Thank you, Ben. Tomorrow we'll be back for the second day of Mobile World Congress, and we're going to have a look at connected cars and also the city and the home of the future. So subscribe now and watch again tomorrow.